Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over's back. Weirdly, it feels like it's been a little while. There's kind of a reason for that. Maybe it's just me. It's all covered in the episode, trust me. We're talking Clash at the Castle, a UK-based premium live event. There'll always be pay-per-views to me. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And yes, the big one, share the podcast around. If you've got a wrestling fan in your life, send this podcast their way. They will thank you for it. Right, okay, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Getting Over.
Recording in progress.
Welcome along. For those of you on YouTube, you'll be able to see I am sat in the man cave, surrounded by the hardware. No, it's not that kind of podcast you've tuned into. It is indeed Getting Over on CookieCast, and we are at episode number 64. This is obviously your home of all things WWE on the CookieCast podcast network, and we are back at full strength this time around, ladies and gentlemen, making his triumphant return to the podcast like that surprise Royal Rumble entrant we all know and love is none other than Mr. Matthew Moore, alongside Mr. Paul Williams and the head honcho of CookieCast Towers, Mr. Andy Cook. How are we all, fellas?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you, sir.
Good. We will start where we always start, the predictions title. And last time out, Matt held on to the gold following WrestleMania. But scheduling conflicts meant he wasn't able to join us, so this time we are guaranteed a new champion on the episode. We were all so excited about Backlash and its complete lack of predictability that we all went for the exact same results. And I think that's possibly the first time in podcast history.
Does that counts as a three-way draw count out, so I'm still champion then?
Oh, no, we'll get to this because we already saw, we foresaw that as I was like, this looks very familiar whilst we were recording. So we did a little tiebreak of the length of the match of the undisputed WWE title match between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. So we will have a winner, Matthew, unfortunately for yourself. So not only was it the first time in podcast history that we all predicted the exact same, but it was then also the first time in history that we had 3 clean sweeps on the board as we got every single result right. We were obviously, as I say, very excited about the complete lack of predictability and absolutely nailed it. The event in France was decent enough. It just didn't really do anything story-wise. It was just more of the same.
Was that tempered slightly for you because of the incessant chanting every time there was a 2 count?
Oh my god! Right. Okay, we'll do this bit now because the internet.
Is that a bear? Is that a bear? That's a bear? Is that a bear?
The internet and the online wrestling community seemingly lost its mind as to how good of a crowd people were in France. No. It just tells you how bad people are in the States if you think that was good, because Jesus Christ, they were annoying. I mean, we were getting to the point where even the referee couldn't stand up without somebody cheering for it overly loudly. It was just too much. Also, as well, somebody needs to maybe check building regulations in France, because every time that a crowd chant started, the entire camera shook. And Paul was doing an excellent demonstration for those of you on YouTube just there. But yeah, it didn't feel particularly safe. But yeah, I'm obviously all for people having a good time. Just, you're there to enjoy the show, not be part of it in the regard. You're not going to get an invite into the ring because you've been extra loud than the guy sat next to you. That's not really how it works.
Oh, I don't know, Stu. I think a lot of the wrestlers would probably disagree with you there. I'm pretty sure at least one or two of them on occasion have said that the biggest superstar in the WWE is the audience. So.
It was Randy Orton's comments afterwards that got me, and he was like, "I've been in this business for all these years, and I've had pretty much the same theme song for the last sort of 2/3 of that. People don't sing my song in America, but they sing my song in France. Great."
Yeah, he was loving that, wasn't he?
I admit I sound like a grump. I sound like a grump most of the time, but that I just think was over egged slightly. It did become the highest grossing, arena event. I think was what they'd said. I don't think it was the highest attended. Just tells you that they put the ticket prices up again. But yeah, they did commercially very well out of it. So I would not be surprised to see them go back to France a little bit more frequently than they have in the last sort of 10 years or so, put it that way. So as we know, we got them all right. Jade and Bianca won the women's tag team titles. The Bloodline beat Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Bayley, as we expected, Paul, retained the women's title. Damian Priest retained the World Heavyweight title, and Cody defeated AJ Styles. But the question would be then, how long did that take to determine our winner? So that the match length that we gave, so Andy was 21 minutes and 20. Paul was 23:38, and I was 24:41. And as I said on the last episode, I would take it from the font of all absolutely truthful knowledge, and that would be the time they gave on Wikipedia. And that time, before anybody suggests it, absolutely not amended by myself, was 27:20, therefore making me the winner. So yeah. I'm sorry, Matt. It feels a bit of a cold victory after you. You could have got that three-way draw had we not have spotted that one in the predicting part. But yeah, I will gladly take the burden. Anyway, we shall move on. A little bit of news. So obviously we referenced Backlash. The avid fans, the eagle-eared and eagle-eyed amongst you will also notice that there has been another event that we didn't podcast for, which is the usual. Sort of the norm for when it happens to be in Saudi Arabia for us. But Queen and King of the Ring did take place from Jeddah in the last month, and just days before the event, Triple H made the announcement that the winners of the tournament would receive shots at their respective world titles at SummerSlam in Cleveland later this year. In a shock to absolutely nobody, Gunther stormed the men's tournament, beating Randy Orton in somewhat controversial fashion. It's been noted that Orton's shoulders weren't down as the ref hit 3, but they were very quick to stomp on that and say, well, ref's decision's final. And Nia Jax took the Queen's crown by besting Raw newcomer Lyra Valkyria in the final. I expected Gunther. I think everybody expected Gunther. Nia Jax?
As soon as I saw the brackets, I thought it was either going to be her or Bianca when it came out, and then as soon as she won that particular semi-final, I knew that was going to be the way they would go.
I thought it would be Bianca would win, and that would be the thing that then caused friction in the tag team, and that would be the way that they would go to end up getting her and Cargill sort of in a program. But yeah, Nia Jax being Queen of the Ring was not on my bingo card anyway, put it that way. On the women's front, Liv Morgan also picked up some hardware on the trip to Saudi when she took the women's title away from Becky Lynch, completing one of the missions on her so-called Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. It did come in the form of some unlikely assistance, however, as a dirty Dom Mysterio looked like he was trying to help beat Becky by sliding a chair into the ring. Help Becky beat Liv by sliding a chair into the ring, but with the ref distracted, Liv hit a DDT, followed by Oblivion, and champion. Has coincided with some other news as well, but we'll get to that in a second. In the weeks following, Liv's made it clear that she still wants to take everything away from Rhea Ripley, and she isn't content with sending the Aussie superstar home hurt just after WrestleMania. She's now got the title. Obviously, Rhea Ripley held that for over a year. But she's also now wanted her man, laying a surprise kiss on Dominic Mysterio at the end of Raw after the Premium Live event to thank him for his help. The kiss also came after Dom inadvertently helped Liv to win a title rematch against Becky the very next night, which at this point, is it inadvertent? Is it on purpose? This is the way the story is going, and they're doing all right with it. To be fair, so far it's quite it's not amazing, but I would put it more in the bracket of it's so cringy. It's kind of like you want to know what happens. Like it's so bad it's good kind of a thing. But yeah, that match result, Becky Lynch losing, has garnered its own news in the respect of her contract with WWE has now expired, and she is officially a free agent. What do we think she's doing?
Well, I know what she's doing. She's creating great content on Instagram by reenacting Narcos scenes, which was absolutely hilarious.
Was that the... Go on, Paul.
No, you go.
Was that the recreation of the meme where it was the 4 photographs of her stood doing nothing?
Yeah.
And what was the caption? It was like, is it something like on Mondays and then it was the picture of, yeah. I haven't seen that show, so I didn't know that that's what it was from, but I have seen that meme numerous times. Sorry, Paul, I cut you off. I
was just going to say, obviously, the conspiracy theorists will kick in the... Andy's head did indeed perk up at that particular sound. Obviously, the AEW chatter and checkbook will definitely be coming out. I'd be more than surprised if she ended up there as one, her husband is still under contract to WWE. 2, does she really want to sort of have to cause that sort of friction? And 3, I imagine more than anything else, she probably just wants to spend time with her daughter. So
that's what I've got it down as well. I don't think she'll sign with any other wrestling company. I think that she will just rest up, help Seth through his recovery from his knee surgery, spend a bit more time with her little girl as she's sort of getting a little older. Rollins is going to be out for some time. After that kind of surgery, I wouldn't have thought he'll be back this side of SummerSlam. Put it that way.
If they can get away with it, surely, if he's not needed, just keep him off TV for as long as you can. If you can get him there, have him as a surprise entrant at the Rumble. Surely.
I was wondering.
I'd seen both of them coming back at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll get that far. I think, I personally, I have a theory about Rollins in the sense of. So remember how annoyed he was when CM Punk came back at the end of Survivor Series? I think if they could just pull the exact same thing. Whatever is going on by that point of Survivor Series, Punk's stood at the end of the night with his arm raised, and then out comes Rollins and basically just repeats it.
Is the Survivor Series booked for Davenport, Iowa, though?
Well, yeah, that will be a question for nearer the time, I should imagine. But that is a good point, Paul. I think she'll, if she does anything, I reckon she'll probably do some TV or movie work in between before she comes back. Having recently played Cyndi Lauper on like Young Rock and like a few other bit parts here and there, I can see that happening. Certainly more than the wrestling. But yeah, back to some wrestling, and NXT Battleground took place last weekend, and it had a few newsworthy points. The first was that it was inside the UFC's own building, so I guess that's the real sort of first bit of payoff from the TKO merger and all the rest of it, because that was probably free rent for the night, which was good for them. But on a more serious note, the first Women's North American champion was crowned in a 6-woman ladder match. Kalani Jordan took the honour of becoming the first champion. I would say that's probably a little bit of a surprise because she's still relatively new even on NXT. And I would have thought that like Sol Ruka or Lash Legend or Fallon Henley would probably be perceived as more probable winners. But the news element of it kind of sticks with the women's division on NXT in the sense of TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace appeared not only just on Battleground but on NXT TV over the last few weeks and ended up facing NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez for the NXT title this past weekend. It was specified that the TNA Knockouts title was not on the line. So it was just the NXT gold up for grabs. But Roxanne surprisingly hung on to it. But it was the nature of how that kind of retention came, which was probably more of a surprise because the artist formerly known as Dana Brooke, who's now Ash by Elegance in TNA, turned up and caused a bit of a distraction. And Roxanne managed to hang on. So the main bit, I guess, is those magical 2 words again. Forbidden Door seems to have cropped up. I know that AEW is still doing their stuff with New Japan. WWE seems to be doing a little bit more here and there, I would have thought, now with other companies. So I guess we're starting to see really the main differences between the old Vince McMahon era finally leaving and the Triple H stuff kind of kicking in. But yeah, I thought the TNA ladies turning up on WWE, I know they've done it at the Rumbles and stuff before, but to have it as like an actual feature in a what is a WWE main event was quite a thing, really.
I'm surprised that someone like Dana Brooke being there because that's like kind of old for someone leaving that's come back kind of thing. You know, like I could understand them like trotting out, say, the top 2 women in that company just to kind of get a feel to where WWE fans feel about them, but kind of retreading old ground, as it were, seems. And obviously, it's familiar, but it just seems kind of pointless, really.
Mm. Well, I mean, Naomi, Trinity, whatever you want to call her, obviously spent a bit of time there before she came back. She's not exactly set SmackDown on fire again, has she, since her return? So I wonder if it's more the start of it's going to be a bit more of a talent trade-off, and NXT's kind of it's a big enough deal now that I think even if it sticks within NXT for now, for the time being, so it's TNA and them have some sort of swap deal for a while. I mean, it'll only in the long run help both, I guess, and it also gives WWE a bit of a sort of a foot in the door in case they want to try and find out when certain people's contracts are up and things like that, but also vice versa.
I suppose it's got like elements of the WWE ECW stuff from like 1997, in that almost like they've sort of seen that there's a possibility that there's this. I know that obviously TNA doesn't have the same like cachet that ECW did back at that time, and like the buzz around TNA is not what it like has been in the past and stuff like that. But obviously you get the working relationship there, and then obviously you can do like a talent trade. So if you did, for example, have say someone in NXT that you feel is probably better than the performance center, so to speak, but not quite ready for broadcast TV in an NXT ring, why wouldn't you send them to like somewhere where they're not going to be seen by as many people, but they are going to get television exposure in front of a live crowd as well, on a smaller scale, and you can sort of track their progress in that regard. If you don't think they're quite ready for like the bigger TV show that would be NXT, so I think it can only be positive for everyone involved, really.
It's not just creating buzz for the companies, and it's just creating buzz in general in the regard of people are more likely to. The whole thing feels a bit, what's going to happen? Who's going to come next? What's going to happen next? Are they going to get some of the men to do the same kind of thing? Because then, not quite. Obviously, it's not a swap deal as such, but in the same time scale, they had Ethan Page turn up in NXT as well. It's seemingly signed after his AEW deals ran out. So everything happening like that at the same time seems to be. I think it just adds that extra layer to like you want to watch it because you want to find out what's going to go on next. And they say it's only a good thing all around, really. Other than that, I didn't do too much of a deep dive because obviously there was quite a bit has happened, and storyline wise, we'll obviously get towards a little bit of this when we get into the predicting, and why not begin that process right now? So this weekend is WWE Clash at the Castle. Now it returns after making its debut in Cardiff, Wales, 2022, which obviously Matt and myself will remember well for the fact that we paid about £100 each to go and have a lovely weekend, and not the thousands of pounds that the poor people of Scotland have been fleeced for this time around. At the time of recording, there are still tickets available for Friday Night SmackDown and for Clash at the Castle itself, being held in the same arena, obviously, the OVO in the OVO Hydro in Glasgow. However, the cheapest ticket, again, looked again this afternoon just to make sure, even at this point, they're still charging just over £300 for it.
Who does that make sense to?
Not me.
The WWE accounts team.
Absolutely. But as a business owner, in the world we live in at this point in time, you're telling me that you're like, I've got a great idea. Let's take this product that we have, which is loved by people old and young, and charge £300 for tickets. And at this point in time, they're like, I can't work out why we've still got tickets available for the event. It's literally this weekend. That is gouging at the highest order, and it's disgusting.
I knew that things were continuing to go south when I got an email from the the hospitality people. They're called On Location, who run all the packages now. Saying if you put in this promo code, you can have 25% off. And I thought, never had one of these before from that company. So I knew it had gone particularly badly. And even with a 25% discount for the hospitality packages, for a family of 4, it would be just north of £3,000.
Oh.
So that's and by the way, as well, when I say hospitality packages, what that will get you is not even ringside seats. It was first tier sort of risers. You got like a merch pack. You got to get in early. You got to have like all your food and all your drink for the day, and there was like a reception with 2 or 3 wrestlers, and then your tickets for the night, and that was going to be just over £3,000. Suffice to say, I will be sat on my sofa come this Saturday night with the lads, just watching it from the safety of our own home, not having to have taken out a second mortgage or sold a kidney or even sold one of the children. We will have a full contingent still.
How many you did, then you price it with cheaper, and then you'd have a bit left over for a bit of merch. So,
man, I will point that part out to Sarah in the recording and let her message you accordingly at a later date.
Let's not do that, shall we?
I'm not saying you're right or wrong, Matthew. I'm having no part.
It is just daft because, we had a good time in Cardiff, but lots of people had a good time when we went, and it was £50, and it's just a massive money grab. And by the judgment of it, just a massive overplay. I think they've just gone, all right, we sold that out dead quick, and everybody had a really good time. So you can imagine them sitting and go, shall we go 4 times? Shall we knock it up to 200 quid? They thought, nah, let's go 6 times. 300 quid seems fine. They'll pay that. And then everyone's gone, no, I paid 50 quid last time. I'm not fucking paying 300 quid. On top of my hotel, which no doubt will be more expensive, on top of like the weekend, which will be more expensive. For one person, for one person to sit in the rafters, for a weekend, you're probably looking at what, 700 quid minimum by the time you've taken into hotel
for
food.
Both nights. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think part of it has got to do with they were intent on keeping the branding. So the choice probably would have been, is Cardiff available again? Maybe not. Do we need to move it around a bit? Maybe so. Scotland or Ireland obviously then would fit the bill, because for the castles thing probably more. Problem was the capacity down at Cardiff was about 40,000. The arena that they're going to this weekend is 14,300. So they're going to have to put the ticket prices up if they're going to compete on the financials in terms of what they're expecting to get back. But just because that translates to them does not mean that translates to people in here. I would still suggest that the majority of the people that are going to be there are either locals who have got some kind of mate who works there, or it's going to be people travelling from London up, because there's not... Again, it's going to take into account stereotypes and stuff, but I would class myself as a tight northerner, and it only gets worse the further north you go. So I think they've got it all wrong. And add into that the fact that one of the merchandise shirts that they've put out is basically a Glasgow Rangers shirt. It could be some trouble this weekend in Scotland, seeing as they haven't got a Celtic equivalent.
I would genuinely love to know who in their marketing department has dropped that bollock, because way to alienate upwards of 50% of your viewing public.
Yep.
In that scenario, they should have stayed well clear of that entire situation. Yep. They should have run in the opposite direction on that one, because that is a terrible decision.
Surely, it's the weekend that the Euros start. You're in a country that has qualified for said competition. Theme it on their national shirt. That's it. That's the whole thing. Job done. And in 10 seconds, we've just solved their problem.
Just make a tartan shirt. Sell that.
People bought the one in Wales that was red, and that was bloody awful as well. So making it tartan, I don't think it would put that many people off. People that are even visiting would have it for the fact that it was in Scotland as a bit of a souvenir. Although the mini belt is going to be a world heavyweight title, and if the box that is in has not got an element of tartan in the lining, slipped up. Anyway, we have dissected their financials and their pillaging of the North for long enough, so we will take a very, very short break, and we will be right back to you with the 5 matches on the card and our predictions. So don't move, and we'll be right back with you. See, we're back. Didn't take long at all, did it? Did you even have time to blink? Probably, but let's not split hairs. Anyway, we were just about to get into some predicting for Clash at the Castle from Glasgow, Scotland this weekend. As we mentioned, it's the OVO Hydro on Saturday. It's another month that's going by, and it's another premium live event where we don't have to get up at the arse crack of dawn to watch it. So yeah, I am happy about that. At least that is something. And plus, obviously, we've got the one from Germany as well next time around, the Bash at Berlin, Bash in Berlin, yeah. Bash off. No, let's not carry on with that. So yeah, as always, the match card information is taken from WWE.com and is correct at the time of recording. And we have another juicy 5 matches this time around. So let's get into it. I have sent the list to the gents ahead of time, so they are aware of what's coming up. So the first match we're going to discuss is a triple threat match, no less, for the women's tag team titles. So Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill as champions, defending against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Now, this is only going to be the second title defence for Belair and Cargill since picking up the gold from Damage Control. They did beat Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae in Saudi, so another women's match that took place in Saudi this time. But now they turn their attention to 2 teams. So Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are a good team on paper. I haven't really got any kind of reaction from crowds, I feel, so far. Certainly not like the ones that they were getting when they were in NXT full time, or even the recent visits to the Performance Centre over the last month or so. Shayna Baszler's also been a bit tied up in this NXT underground sort of program with Lola Vice, which I'm sure you're all well aware of. But it feels like a little bit too much of her attention has been diverted, shall we say. But yeah, WWE are clearly going full charm offensive on the Scottish crowd by bringing out their own for every match that they possibly can on this live event, with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn obviously being thrown into this one. Plus, we'll get to the appearances of Piper Niven and Drew McIntyre slightly later on in the card. But it's either going to be a massive party in Glasgow on Saturday or an absolute riot. And I would probably suggest that based on their opening gambit of the aforementioned shirt, we might be erring on the side of riot. But yeah, having been lucky enough to go to Scotland a few times, I would suggest that either way we'll be guaranteed a cracking atmosphere for this one. So yeah, will this first result start said riot, or is the party kicking off with some new champions on what I have as the opening match on the card? Who wants to lead us off for the podcast? Who's got a hot prediction for us?
Well, I've gone with Fire and Dawn.
Okay.
Obviously, there's been some sad news out of America, kind of with Alba Fire's mum passing away in an accident. That's right, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. The when I mentioned this to you guys earlier in our group, it turns out that actually it happened on Friday, back end of last week. I believe as a pedestrian, she was hit by a car and was pronounced dead at the scene, which is terribly sad for anybody. Coupling with the fact that Alba Fire was also on the NXT Battleground card as well, so that happened on Friday. She then flew to Vegas and performed on Sunday, knowing what she was still having to sort out. Like, that takes some bottle that's fair play to her. Like,
I just think my kind of theory behind it is that obviously you've got that, and you kind of the fact that she's worked through, on Sunday, and then has gone out to Scotland and worked again. And it sounds this part's going to sound callous in a way, but they can give them the good moment at Clash of the Castle and probably hand over the belts or hand back the belts within a week on Raw or SmackDown, kind of and kind of redo it in a rematch or something like that, because they can probably pin Baszler and Stark and not have either of them, Belair or Cahill, take it, and they can have that good moment, and then they can undo it all later on.
Well, I can tell you from Matt's prediction, at least, we're not all going to have the same this time around. Yeah, Paul is also nodding. Do you want to take the next one, Paul?
Yes, I have gone for the retention. Although, did you know that apparently Alba Fire and Isla Dawn do have an official tag team name?
No, is that?
According to my sources, they are called the Unholy Union.
That's been floating around. I don't know that they've actually gone with that yet on programming.
That's what I'm reading in front of me. But yes, I do have a retention for Belair and Cargill.
Unholy Union sounds like something you'd read about in some sort of ruler book. That's not the greatest of names.
Gilvan Boo.
We've got a Celtic tag team. Let's give them a weird fucking name. No one will care. Make it sound like some sort of sex dungeon. It'll be fine. Okay, Andy, I'll let you have the third one.
Yeah, you see, it's one of those weird situations where I agree with everything that Matt said. I just unfortunately don't think that WWE can veer from their plans too much, because obviously they look, or supposedly they look further down the road. So I've got to retain for this one.
Okay. I have also got Belair and Cargill to retain the titles. I think because they're both good guys, I think either way it kind of gets the results off to a happier note. I just can't see that Baszler and Zoe Stark will be anywhere near the winning decision. But I do agree with Matt in the sense of they will definitely be the ones taking the loss. They ain't pinning the Scots. I would go so far as to suggest it will be absolutely Zoe Stark that loses the match for her team as well, having been the sort of the least in the spotlight of late on that side. It would be nice. I hadn't even thought about it the way that Matt described it, but it would be nice if they did do something like that. I think it would probably mean possibly then kicking off the Belair Cargill sort of feud early, possibly with them bickering about how it was lost and all that kind of stuff. We'll see. I hadn't even thought about that, and when it first came out of your mouth until you explained it, I did wonder if you'd been drinking before we started, but it makes a lot more sense. So here we are. Right. Next up on the list then, I have an Intercontinental title match. Sami Zayn as champion defending against Chad Gable. So this is a rematch from the Saudi event. We have the leader of the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, trying to pry the Intercontinental title away from the man who dethroned Gunther at Mania in Sami Zayn. So for ages now, like ages and ages, they've been teasing the breakup of the Alpha Academy. Sammy's been trying to appeal to the better nature of Maxine Dupree, Akira Tozawa and Otis after the way that they've been terribly treated by Chad Gable. And so far, it hasn't 100% worked, as the Academy have still carried on helping out Chad Gable, but seemingly with some internal struggle coming to the forefront. This match is kind of made all the more curious by the current contract status of Chad Gable as well. So if you believe the reports that are doing the rounds, Gable, by the time that this weekend rolls around, could well be out of contract with WWE. So the result of the match may well depend on the result of contract negotiations too. But I think the result of the match could potentially be a bit of an indicator as well as to how that's gone, because if he loses, there's a good chance that he might be heading out the door. But if he wins, then that would be the sort of more likely that he's re-signed. But yeah, is Gable going to then leave Scotland with a title and a new deal in hand? Andy, do you want to take this one? Sorry, I've just gone to Andy just as he started having a coffee.
He is not, I'm afraid. Mr. Zayn will retain said title. Whether that changes anything contract-wise, don't know, but not for me.
Okay. You are in the book for Sammy. Paul?
See, I've gone the opposite way on this one. I think, so we have this situation with the women's tag titles changing hands in France. I get the feeling they have that sort of, when they go to new places, or they do a show in different places that aren't in the United States, they like to give them a title change to say that they've had like something big happen on the show. Not to say that there might not be one later in the evening, but I believe this will be one of, if not the only, title switch of the evening. I've got Chad to win the title.
Okay. I would just, at that point, throw in the fact that by next month, 3 in a row will have been abroad, and I can't see him changing them. Well, no, 4 in a row, won't it? Because of the France thing as well. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that. I think normally, had it been like 1 in the space of 8 to 12 months, perhaps, but I'm not sure that they'll go by that logic every time. But I have got you in the book for Chad Gable to win. Matt?
I've got a retain for Sami Zayn.
I'm guessing that you might be in a similar vein to me in the sense of whilst there is a story with Alpha Academy, it doesn't feel like a particularly strong story to me.
It just seems a bit early as well. I just, it just seems a bit early to kind of, Sammy's had it,
2 months? Mm.
And after Gunther having it for, 2 years, seems like a bit kind of thing to go, all right, cross to Sammy, cross to Chad Gable. I think it's a shame because Otis always seems to kind of get to this point where he's got a good storyline and then they either overplay it or they play it too early, so hopefully they can just kind of pull the trigger on that. But kind of, it's an undercard in SummerSlam and it'll be quite an entertaining match, but obviously they need to kind of pull the trigger sooner rather than later.
I think as well, if Gable's like going to win, because of at some point, I'm not talking this weekend, I want it to be because he's lost everything in the sense of Alpha Academy's left him, he's got no other prospects, and it's almost like a bit of like a shit or bust kind of a situation where if he wins the title or he goes, it feels a bit weird that if his contract is up, that they haven't instigated some kind of like loser leaves town element on his side as well for this as well. But yeah, I've gone with Sammy as well for that exact what Matt said as well, but I've been too early. So yeah, so we do have some different predictions definitely this time around. Right, third match on the card. WWE Women's title is up for grabs as Bayley, going in as champion, is defending against Piper Niven. Since Bayley took the title from Io at WrestleMania, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven have basically just been tormenting her. Apparently that's enough to get you a title match when Nick Aldis is your boss. So we all know that Nia Jax is next up for whoever wins this match, in theory. So given a pretty weak storyline, and we already know what's coming down the road at SummerSlam, I would suggest that this is possibly going to be the quickest prediction we have ever made on the podcast. Only maybe made longer by the fact that I'm still waffling about it now. It is nice to see Piper Niven get a spot on the card in her homeland, as we were talking about earlier. But surely there's absolutely no way, is there? Paul, we'll go to Paul first, otherwise I think his head might fall off.
There's absolutely no way Bayley loses this title.
There it is. Mark that off your bingo cards, ladies and gentlemen. I'm putting you down for Bayley then, Paul, is that right?
Although, I think there is a possibility that she almost works a little sort of 50-50. Where obviously she'll be the face going into the match, but I think there's a possibility that she works slightly heelish because there's no way the crowd's not going to cheer for Piper. So,
well, she always gets a good reception over here. I mean, the reception from when it was the NXT London thing at Wembley Arena was what started a lot of the crowd chanting for Bayley on a big scale. But whether that translates north of the border, I guess, remains to be seen, particularly as she's facing one of their own. Okay, you're in the book for Bailey. Shock horror. I am also in the book for Bailey. Am Matt or Andy going to tell me anything different?
No.
No, sir.
Told you it'd be a quick one.
And
That's
Chelsea
not-
Green can do the heel lifting in that as well.
True.
I really like Chelsea Green. I think she's really good. I think she also deserves a little bit better than being lumped into a tag team when she could be in a decent singles program of her own accord. That's by the by. Right, a little bit more of a meatier prediction now, shall we say? On the basis of we've got an undisputed WWE title match, and it's not just any old match. It's an I Quit match between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. So this is a rematch from Backlash this time around. But following the defeat at the hands of Cody in France, it looked kind of like AJ's race to the title had been run. Not if Mark Henry's playbook had anything to do with it. Whilst Cody defended his title successfully against Logan Paul at King and Queen of the Ring, AJ was dumped out of the tournament before they even got to Saudi in the first round by eventual finalist Randy Orton. AJ needed a plan, and apparently a pastel jacket. So AJ came out on SmackDown last week, seemingly to announce his retirement with the help of the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. During that stint, Cody came out to congratulate the Phenomenal One on a stellar career, only to be blindsided and then eventually laid out by a Styles Clash from the ring steps to the arena floor, which looked pretty good. Also, still hate that move. It still makes me twinge every time.
There is absolutely no way Cody Rhodes did not face plant the floor directly onto his nose with that one.
What are you trying? Are you trying to say he's got a big nose, Paul? Maybe he should have had his clear mask.
No. I'm saying it's the fact that he was nowhere near being able to protect his face.
At least the floor was padded. The ring wouldn't have been.
Only just.
So after that beatdown, the title match was set. But it'll be an I Quit match. Neither man has competed under these rules in WWE, so they've managed to sneak in a cheeky first time ever, right under all of our noses. Particularly under Cody's swollen nose now after what Paul was saying. But which superstar is going to utter the humiliating words to signal defeat, and who leaves with their ego intact, carrying gold? I will say as well, the I Quit deal, I don't think it's been touted anywhere about anybody having to actually leave. It's just a bit of a humiliation aspect. I know sometimes they do play it into the fact that if somebody says I quit, then they have to do one. But again, not been mentioned as far as I'm aware. So I'll go back down the line this time. I don't see anything other than a Cody win. I think it'll be another good match. I think that it'll be technically it could be match of the night again, but it's not quite a straight up match as it was in France. For the fact it's an I Quit match, I think that the Good Brothers will be involved. There'll be shenanigans. There has to be shenanigans. But ultimately, I don't see Cody dropping the title. So it's a Cody Rhodes win for me. Matt?
I've gone Cody as well.
Any further reasoning or same lines?
Yeah. I think they just obviously he's been built enough as the kind of like hero kind of thing, but I think obviously it's just adding to that kind of stock and kind of.
Yeah, I think AJ's got that placeholder kind of feel about the challenger sort of thing, really, for me.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Paul.
Yeah, same for me. When you were saying just then about the fact that there'll probably be interference, I was trying to think, like, because he's not to say that he's like a lone wolf or anything like that, but Cody hasn't really sort of had any interaction with anyone other than Seth. That's been like his sort of like his mates or whatever. So I think we were saying a little earlier about the fact that obviously Gallus back in NXT obviously aren't booked on the show because they're not a part of the Raw or SmackDown rosters, but because they are from Scotland, is this like a cheap way of getting them on the show to sort of counteract the actions of Anderson and Gallows, potentially?
And further play into the homeland smoke blowing up their backsides.
Exactly.
I wondered if it'd be a way to try and sneak Jey Uso into it, because he's not booked either.
I've not really thought about him. Yeah, he's
But then there's only one of him.
Yeah, true.
Andy?
Yeah, it's just a retain for me. It's far too soon for a change of that title. I imagine they're going to push this one out to a third showdown. And like you were saying, I don't think that it's going to be a quit. I think it's just like a quit from the match. But yeah, I potentially see this one going for a third time round the houses. But honestly, don't see that title changing anytime soon.
No. There's talk of even when Roman comes back that he's likely to be fighting somebody else, like probably Solo Sikoa within the bloodline, so he's not even going to be straight back to the Roman Cody thing either, which is probably for the best. Anyway, we will move on to the match that I have listed as the main event of the evening. If this isn't the main event, something has gone very wrong. But it is the World Heavyweight title match between champion Damian Priest and returning Homeland hero Drew McIntyre. Anybody feel like we've been here before? UK pay-per-view, Drew in the main event for the world title. Screwy finish coming up, anybody? We'll see. We all know that Damian Priest cashed in at WrestleMania to take the title from Drew, who had only won the belt moments before. Officially, 5 minutes and 46 seconds, for anybody wondering. CM Punk made his presence felt at ringside that night. Is that going to happen again in Glasgow? Drew's war of words with CM Punk has kind of stolen the show on the socials over the last few months. And I guess, does that though lend to, is Drew going to take the title into his feud with CM Punk once he returns to action? As with the women's title stuff, we also need to consider that Gunther is on the horizon for the SummerSlam shot. Well, that's not to say that it couldn't be a triple threat match either, because people seem to have missed that option. I think that if they don't want to put the title on Gunther just yet, having that be a triple threat match also helped him at the time. But that's for another time. That's for another day. I have to say, I think if this match was in the US, I don't think the result would be up for debate.
No.
But the fact that it's in Drew's homeland, the recent trouble with CM Punk, and the whole history with Priest's cash-in kind of muddying the water slightly, adding to the fact as well that Judgment Day are officially banned from ringside after Drew beat Finn Balor on this past Raw, which we all know means then Judgment Day will clearly be everywhere. There's just I can't see this just being a straight match at all. There's going to be something odd. But it's Drew's chance for redemption again in front of a live audience for a world title in his homeland. Surely they're not going to fuck him over again. Surely. Matt? That's not it.
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay, so you go Priest.
Yeah, I just can't see after how long they left the Money in the Bank thing for Priest to cash in, and like all the fuss that they made with it. I can't see him winning it. I just can't, which is a shame again, because it's an awful way to treat somebody who carried that company through a really difficult time. And again, because it just shows a lack of foresight, to be honest. This must have been in the works. It couldn't have just been like, the announcement of it was a little bit, oh shit, should we go and do a show in Scotland? And they kind of, it seemed to be a little bit like there was no kind of build up to it. There was no like kind of rumours about it, or all of a sudden there was a little kind of dirt sheet thing, and then like an hour later it was like, oh yeah, we're doing a show in Scotland in June, by the way. And you're like, all right, okay then, wicked. Wasn't
it Alba Fire that tweeted about it and then had to take it down and then put it back up again once the official announcement had happened?
Yeah,
like literally that quick, I think.
But it doesn't feel. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's less than like a month ago that it seemed to be announced. And so obviously there's a lack of kind of, I don't know, they all came together at the last minute. But I think it would have been more realistic Drew carrying it into Clash at the Castle and him retaining. I just think against that kind of Priest only won it 2 months ago. He's not done a whole lot with it, which might make me think, oh, maybe they'll take it from him. But I think they'll give him a bit more of a chance to do something before. I just think CM Punk will come and screw Drew over in his hometown, and then that can kind of make him heelish, as it were.
Okay, so I've got you down for Priest. Paul, are you the same?
No, I have got Drew down to win,
Here
but
goes.
I don't think he gets the title.
So Drew by DQ.
Yeah, so I think they'll concoct some sort of scenario where CM Punk comes down and costs him the match. So obviously, like he'll have Claymored Priest going for the sort of the 3 count, and then Punk will either pull the ref out or do something to Drew, and that'll cost the DQ. Yeah.
Okay, you're down for Drew by DQ. Andy?
I've got a similar sort of thing to what everybody's got going on. I've got CM Punk costing Drew the match, Priest to retain.
Okay, are you saying Priest to win though?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Unfortunately for me, I also agree with Matt and Andy. I have got Priest to win. As much as I would love Drew McIntyre to win, particularly in Scotland, I would have also liked to have been there. So the fact that he'll then lose to Damien Priest when they were charging £300 for the cheap tickets is some kind of bitter justice in the end. So yeah, unfortunately for Drew, I have got Damien Priest to win. I don't think that Punk and Drew need the title for how well that feud's seemingly simmering before they've even really laid a finger on each other. So I think the title can come into it, just not at this stage. So Damien Priest to win. So we do have some differences. However, me and Andy have exactly the same predictions. So should it go that way, I will obviously call upon either Paul or Matt to issue some tiebreaker situations nearer to the time of the next podcast. But for now, that is all of the predictions done. Has anyone got anything else?
Nothing from me.
Cool. Well, that leaves me to say thank you very much for listening along. Thank you for joining us once again. If you are listening to this maybe on your way to Scotland, maybe in preparation for the trip north, enjoy. Very jealous. You've also clearly got more money than I have, so congrats on both of those situations. But yeah, have a great weekend if you're going. Have a great weekend if you're watching it on TV, and we will catch you next time around. Thank you very much.
So there we go. What do you think of that? Another one done. Another one gone. Another premium live event in the bag. Still a pay-per-view to me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope it gave you everything you could possibly want from a wrestling podcast. If it did, click the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. Share the podcast around. That's a big one. Leave a review. Reviews are important. Obviously, it's 5-star. There's no question there. But wherever you can leave a review, please do consider leaving one. Just say, love it. It's the best. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button. And that way you can send us your predictions for this premium live event. Right, that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to CookieCast. Please make sure to like, share and subscribe.